Hi, good morning, everybody. First and foremost, thank you so much for attending and listening in to our financial results presentation for the fiscal year ending December 2022. In slide 2, we'll initially outline our consolidated financial results for the 2022 year. And then after that, we'll move into a bit of an explanation around our growth strategy and future outlook for both 2023 and onward. And then lastly, of course, we'll be happy to take any questions that may arise from the various participants. So with that, so on slide 4 is an illustration of the companies to which we hold equity stakes and some of the recent highlights that they had in 2022. On the left side, of course, we announced the acquisition of the radiopharma business, which we renamed PDR Radiopharma in March of 2022. This is, of course, the radiopharmaceutical business involved in development, manufacturing, and sales of radiopharmaceuticals and diagnostics in Japan. We are extremely pleased and happy to announce that that company became profitable in its first year after consolidation. And this is for a company that had been largely operating in the red for the last number of years. And the radiopharm business is very much on track to transform into a high growth business model going forward. So we think we've made significant strides and steps with that business, and very excited about its potential in the future. In regards to some of the other equity holdings that we have roughly 40% stakes in both PeptiAid and PeptiGrowth. PeptiAid is a spin-out company involved in the discovery and development of our COVID-19 therapeutic, PA001, which was confirmed to exhibit a very favorable safety profile in humans in clinical research that was performed in 2022, justifying further development of the program. And we are currently planning next steps with PeptiAid. In regards to PeptiGrowth, the growth factor business that is a partnership with Mitsubishi Chemical. The business launched 4 new products in 2022. There is an expansion planned for the use of these in multiple clinical studies. And also Mitsubishi is currently building out both the commercial sales network in the US and European markets to drive the growth of these products. Additionally, of course, we're expecting to launch new products here in 2023 and onward in relation to this business. So very excited about the future of PeptiGrowth. PeptiStar, our CDMO business, to which we own less than a 15% stake in the company, in 2022 saw increasing orders to produce peptide APIs for a number of preclinical and clinical trials. And that company continues to progress extremely well. And there are minor shareholdings or equity holdings in Reid, one of our strategic partners in radiopharmaceuticals, which was very happy to announce in December of 2022, the first clinical development candidate arising from that collaboration, which we're looking forward to progress here in 2023. In addition, one of the highlights was our PeptiDream gaining the option for both the commercial and development rights to all of these partner programs in Japan, which we believe is going to be an important contributor for growth across the PeptiDream PDR Radiopharma business. And lastly, of course, Modulus, which is a computational drug discovery company, has obtained using in part our peptides that we discovered for them, utilizing the computational data to generate excellent data around their c-KIT inhibitor program, which they're currently in partnering discussions with. And we're looking forward to news in that regard here in 2023. So on the next slide, it just outlines the consolidated accounting for the now PeptiDream and PDR Radiopharma business. The PeptiDream business is the first segment in our drug discovery and development business segment, which spans 3 different business strategies: the collaboration on drug discovery and development, PDPS technology licensing, and strategic alliance and in-house programs. And then now the radiopharmaceutical business segment operated by PDR Radiopharma is considered the second business segment, which operates, of course, in the R&D, manufacturing, and sales of radiopharmaceuticals, both therapeutics and diagnostics, of course. The other two affiliated companies are PeptiGrowth and PeptiAid, which are accounted for under the equity method, to which shares in profits or losses of those businesses are accounted for using this equity method under non-operating income and or losses. For the 2022 fiscal year, in the drug discovery and business segment, we concluded deals that contribute to record high earnings. So in regards to PeptiDream, we had the highest revenue and highest profit in our history, and was just a fantastic financial performance for 2022. In the radiopharmaceutical business segment, again, post-acquisition, the company has become operating in the black and profitable, marginally profitable, but this is a significant step forward in building a future foundation for this business. And the morale within the PDR Radiopharma company, I think, is at an all-time high with the excitement under the new leadership and the potential for significant future growth of that business. In regards to the actual numbers, financial numbers, they're highlighted in the middle column for January to December. And we had revenue for the year of 26.8 billion yen. The PeptiDream business, largely the drug discovery and development business segment, had revenue of 15.4 billion yen for the year. And the radiopharmaceutical business, operated by PDR Radiopharma, had 11.4 billion yen for the fiscal year. We saw core operating profits at 9.6 billion yen, more than double what we had under PeptiDream in 2021. And we saw net income increase significantly to 7.5 billion yen, almost triple what we had in 2021. So year over year, fantastic numbers across the board for both PeptiDream and the PDR Radiopharma business. Next slide. In regards to core and non-core adjustments that were reported, just a couple of minor notes. There were a couple of M&A related costs associated with the acquisition of the radiopharmaceutical business from both the advisory services and legal services associated with the acquisition, and then also costs associated with the acquisition of the business itself from a cost of sales perspective. In addition to that, there was just intangible assets and others with the amortization of certain in-licensed products, which had minor contributions overall. From a non-operating profit loss in 2022, as mentioned, we saw operating profit of 8.9 billion yen with a non-operating profit loss of 2.3 billion yen. Largely, the main aspect of this 2.3 billion yen was a financing cost related to the consideration payment associated with the acquisition of PDR Radiopharma, something we'll explain in more detail in a subsequent slide. And then, of course, there was an additional charge for an interest expense. In regards to the income tax, we had an income tax credit that was associated with the acquisition of PDR Radiopharma, largely due to carry forward losses from that business, which was extremely positive, of course, from a income tax perspective, leading to, again, net income of 7.5 billion yen for the two companies in 2022. So in regards to the consideration payment associated with the acquisition of PDR Radiopharma, the acquisition itself had a 4 billion yen consideration payment associated with the market expansion of the Emavid diagnostic agent. And so the Emavid is a diagnostic agent for Alzheimer's disease, largely for Alzheimer's disease, and other potential forms of dementia. It is currently utilized for dementia only, for clinical functional impairment, but the potential expansion into mild cognitive impairment, or MCI expansion, which would lead to a significantly larger patient applicable patient pool in Japan. With the exciting progress of Alzheimer's therapeutics and approval of 2 therapeutics in the United States and the likelihood of approval here in Japan, there will be or is expected to be a significant increase in the use of this Amyvid diagnostic tool or agent to detect patients that might have either Alzheimer's disease and or other forms of dementia. And so in light of this charge or consideration payment associated with this MCI market expansion, in 2022, we booked, from an accounting perspective, we booked 50% of the fair value of that payment, roughly equivalent to 2 billion yen in the 2022, or slightly less than 2 billion yen in the 2022 fiscal year, and will account for the second half of this payment, or the second part of this payment, in the 2023 fiscal year. And we'll touch on that in more detail as we get to the numbers. From a consolidated balance sheet perspective of the company, of course, with the acquisition of the PDR radiopharma business, we increased or decreased our ratio to equity to around 50%. But we're expecting, of course, in the medium term for this to return back into the 60 to 70% range in the relatively short term. And EBITDA in the short term is around 0.7 to 1x, and aiming for this to return to 0 in the medium term. In regards to cash flow for the 2022 fiscal year, we started the year with about 11.7 billion yen in cash and cash equivalents. Of course, as is listed here, is the various aspects related to operating cash flow, investment cash flow, and financial cash flow, which we won't touch on in detail here. But at the end of the year, we ended cash and cash equivalents of 5.2 billion yen, but this did not account for the cash coming in from both the Merck and Lilly deals, which closed at the end of the year. And so at current, as of today, we're basically back to the cash and cash equivalents value that we started the year 2022 with. So largely it was from a cash flow perspective, was a neutral year in 2022. In regards to revenue for the PeptiDream business in 2022, as I mentioned, we had record high earnings with strong growth across our PDC business. So it was really a large year, I'd say, for PDC programs and related collaborations, which has been a strategic area of focus for the company. And we, of course, believe is going to be an important growth driver in the future. So we roughly accounted for about 11.3 billion of the revenue, of the 15.4 billion revenue we had associated with PDC programs. And again, as mentioned, the Merck and Lilly deals were large contributors to this amount. And I just want to make the point that the Merck deal and Lilly deal, while those might look like new discovery deals for the company, the Merck deal is largely more of a licensing deal to which we licensed assets we had been developing internally for use in peptide cytotoxic conjugate programs. So I would probably consider that more of an out-licensing deal, an early stage out-licensing deal, that I would necessarily consider that to be a new deal. The Lilly, while we haven't touched on exactly the type of peptide conjugates we're working on with the Lilly program or Lilly collaboration, this is also, again, some assets that we currently already had that are being a part of that deal. So I just want to make it very clear that these deals are not, say, fully just starting from zero deals or discovery deals in their true essence. They're new deals, but they're largely covering programs as we continue to develop programs internally and then find partners for them. The other aspects, of course, are as listed on this slide that contributed to, again, record earnings in 2022. So in addition to the revenue for 2022, we also saw excellent progress across a number of programs in our preclinical development pipeline, basically seeing year-over-year increases across the programs that continue to advance and stage up from one stage to the next. Some of just the recent highlights on the right side that happened in 2022. Excitingly, of course, our next generation PD-L1 inhibitor, partnered with Bristol Myers Squibb, entered a phase 1 in April of 2022. Again, we have high expectations for this compound and with its blockbuster potential, and then looking forward to report on the progress of that program as we are able to. Additionally, with Biohaven, our CD38 ARM program for the treatment of multiple myeloma had entered a phase 1A, phase 1B in October of 2021. Biohaven actually earlier in this year reported some initial findings from that study, which PeptiDream is in discussions with Biohaven about our ability to release and disclose in more detail some of the findings that we've seen with those patients. But the data, as they reported, the data seems to be extremely exciting for the patients that have been treated so far with the CD38 ARM product. So very much looking forward to progress on that program. Additionally, Amylite, which we had licensed our GHR antagonist program to, had presented at a number of meetings in 2022, the exciting results around this GHR antagonist program, which has been termed AZP3813 for the treatment of acromegaly and other neuroendocrine disorders, which has a significant market potential. The results have been, I would say, again, fantastic, and they are moving expeditiously to put this into a phase 1 here, probably in mid 2023. So excited about how this looks going forward. And on the RIPDC front with RayzeBio, as I mentioned, we were able to nominate the first development candidate from that partnership in December of 2022, and looking forward to this progressing forward here in 2023. We're also making exciting progress with a second program that is likely to be announced as a development candidate here in 2023 also. So extremely pleased with the partnership ongoing with RayzeBio and the progress we made in 2022. And these are, again, just some of the highlights that happened in 2023 across our preclinical and clinical development pipeline. Slide 14 is just our standard top table of the top programs currently in the pipeline. And we're looking forward, of course, in 2023 to see a number of these programs take steps forward as they progress through the clinic and into the clinic. So excited about the potential for a number of news announcements to happen here in 2023 in regards to these programs and more. On slide 15 is the 2022 revenue for the radiopharm business, PeptiDream. The company, again, became profitable in its first year post-acquisition. And the PeptiDream team has been doing a phenomenal job in driving and setting that company up to transform its business model into a high-growth business model. They've worked extremely hard to start to expand the market share of the existing products, despite some remaining difficulty in market conditions and reduced costs. Market difficulties in market conditions associated with COVID-19, and then also a large focus on reducing costs to achieve near-term profitability and stabilize the business. They've also made significant progress in developing a collaborative structure between PeptiDream and PeptiDream, particularly in regards to our R&D operations and also in our business development efforts, which we think are going to translate significantly into transforming the business model very quickly. Just over on a quarter-by-quarter basis, as everyone is aware, we only consolidated 9 months of earnings into the company this year. And this just shows the Q2, Q3, and Q4 revenue for PDR-radiopharma, which is largely quite consistent quarter over quarter. And again, total revenue for the year was 11.4 billion yen, achieving profitability for the full year. In fact, some of the contributing factors for that, we saw a solid launch of the RIA MIBG product that was launched in 2022. We're also seeing steady market share expansion of our SPECT, the FDG PET products. And then with the announcement in December of this year around the expansion of our TAUVID product with Lilly is also an extremely exciting development. And we expect to be a significant contributor to revenue going forward. As far as some of the headwinds that was faced in 2022 was, again, there still is a decreasing total number of patient visits in hospitals due to COVID-19, which we, of course, are expecting to have that largely resolved in 2023, but that, of course, remains an unknown. And then there was some headwinds in regards to global shortages of certain raw radioisotope materials for the supply of such products, which the company has actively been working to stabilize sourcing of. On slide 16 is just the current clinical pipeline of PDR-radiopharma. As I just mentioned, we announced a co-development deal with Eli Lilly for TAUVID, signed in 2022. And for reference, of course, TAUVID is a diagnostic imaging agent for neurofibrillary tangles that are also associated with Alzheimer's disease. And in fact, PDR-radiopharma will be the first business, of course, to now have an Alzheimer's and an A-beta diagnostic agent, also with a tau diagnostic agent, giving us an extremely powerful combination of products in the Alzheimer's and dementia imaging market, to which we expect significant expansion of in the near future with the approval of the Alzheimer's related therapeutics in Japan. In addition to that, one of the other exciting programs is a therapeutic against integrin, the alpha-5 beta-3, that was discovered in-house in PDR-radiopharma and was out-licensed. Ex-Japan rights were out-licensed to Novartis, with PDR-radiopharma retaining Japan rights too. And that, of course, is currently in a phase 1 outside of Japan, and very excited about the potential progress of this product. In addition to the 4 development programs shown here, the PDR-radiopharma business, of course, is in association with PeptiDream, is very active in discussions with a number of companies to bring additional products, introduce additional products being developed outside of Japan into the Japan market through a variety of strategies, which we'll touch on in a subsequent slide. In regards to progress highlights for ESG-related aspects, PeptiDream's key initiatives that we've seen significant progress on. In regards to the environmental, we achieved carbon neutrality across PeptiDream business activities, a significant improvement in optimizing energy management, reducing per employee power usage by approximately 12% from the previous year. From a societal impact, we have continued to expand our training programs for all employees, and we continue to strengthen supplier relations to build a sustainable, responsible supply chain. From a governance perspective, we appointed an independent outside director as the chairman of the board of directors in 2022. We've established a compliance and risk committee, and we continue to strengthen cybersecurity measurements, implement cybersecurity measures across both the PeptiDream and PDR-radiopharma businesses to ensure the safety and stability of our networks. We've seen all of these initiatives continue to lead to higher sustainability ratings, or ESG ratings, basically across the board, with PeptiDream being ranked as one of the top ESG companies. We were selected as an index constituent from the FTSE4Good Index series and also the FTSE Blossom Japan Index in 2022. And we've, again, had company high ratings across the board in regards to our ESG scores. So extremely happy with the progress across those efforts made by the company. In the next section, we'll touch a little bit on the growth strategy and future outlook for the PeptiDream and PDR-Radio-Pharma businesses, both from the perspective of 2023 and onward. So the next slide, this just highlights the three strategic areas of focus we announced in February of 2022. Number one was really the advancement of PeptiDream's late-stage research programs into clinical development. Number two was a focus on the further expansion of PeptiDream's peptide drug conjugate programs. And number three was putting PDR-Radio-Pharma post-acquisition on a growth trajectory. And all three of these aspects, I think we've made significant progress on in 2022. So on slide 20 is just the initial, which is advancing PeptiDream's late-stage research programs into clinical development in regards to those efforts. In 2022, as I mentioned, we saw the PD-L1 inhibitor, our next generation PD-L1 inhibitor with BMS, entering a phase 1 in April of 2022. We are not sure of exactly when this program will read out, or when the phase 1 results will be announced, and when this will move into phase 2 as of yet. But this is, again, a program that we're extremely excited with the progress of. In regards to the PeptiAid partnered PA001, we reported, of course, in August of 2022 that we saw extremely favorable safety and PK results for this program, supporting further development of the program. And we are considering, of course, next steps. And then, as I mentioned, we're expecting the AZP3813, a number of exciting data that they announced and published in 2022, and expecting that to move into a phase 1 here in 2023 as it completes IND-enabling studies. In regards to advancing multiple late-stage, so we also saw, advancing multiple late-stage research programs, including RI-PDC, oligo-PDC programs through preclinical development. We saw, of course, the announcement in December of 2022, the development candidate for an RI-PDC with Reid Bio, which was extremely exciting advancement. And we've seen 7 additional programs in 2022 move into the lead to GLP tox stage. So exciting progress. Of course, our preclinical pipeline continues. We also saw solid progress in building differentiating data around our programs for the myostatin inhibitor, for the potential treatment of DMD and or other muscular dystrophies, and of course, our modules partnered c-KIT inhibitor programs. Going forward, on the right side of the slide, of course, we will continue to be in a position to announce data on any of the advancing programs that are currently in the clinic. Looking forward to announce any results as they pertain to the BMS programs as soon as we are able. As I mentioned earlier, some of the exciting data coming out from the Biohaven CD38 program that we hopefully will be able to make some announcements on here in 2023. And looking forward to see the amyloid program move into the clinic here in 2023. There's also the potential, of course, for us to see the Reid Bio program move into human testing also in 2023. So a number of programs we're focused on driving their clinical progress forward. In addition to that, of course, is a key is nominating new clinical and development candidates across our programs with a strong focus, of course, on the RI-PDC and oligo-PDC programs. We already announced in December, as I mentioned, with Reid Bio, we're expecting another program, a second program to be announced here in 2023, and hopefully also with Novartis expecting to announce the first development candidate from that collaboration. So very happy with the progress across our RI-PDC programs. In regards to the oligo-PDC programs that we have partnered with Takeda and Alnylam, expecting to announce a development candidate here in 2023 in regards to that collaboration also, and looking for additional news on those collaborations. And of course, the potential for other programs that we are not allowed to disclose at this time. We're expecting the selection of a clinical candidate for our in-house myostatin inhibitor program here in 2023. 2023. Hopefully, again, proceeding with development candidate selection. We're still working to complete a preclinical data package, and then planning and discussing various aspects for out-licensing, partnering, and/or development of this program. And we have a strong focus here, resource allocation toward advancing existing programs across the entirety of our pipeline, allocating resources to prioritize the advancement of ongoing projects, with less an emphasis, say, on just simply increasing the number of overall programs, but more of a focus on seeing those programs advance through the preclinical stages and into the clinic. On slide 21 is around the further expansion, which was, again, a goal in 2022, expand our efforts around the PDC. I think we've very effectively delivered on this in 2022. Certainly, as I mentioned, the executions of the deals with Merck, this is listed as MSD outside of US, and Lilly. There continues to be a significant growing interest in the advantages of peptides based delivery in comparison to other modalities such as antibodies, which is resulting in significantly larger deal sizes for us. As I mentioned again, in part, the Merck deal was actually licensing peptides that we already had to Merck for use as peptide cytotoxic conjugates, which also contributes significantly to the higher deal and financials associated with those deals. We see a steady expansion of the various PDC approaches. So we've been expanding, of course, the PDC programs. Not just our role is really to find the peptides that target the cancers, and then allows us to actually expand the different types of payloads that can be conjugated to these peptides for targeted delivery. So in 2022 was a focus on expanding within our RI-PDC and oligo-PDC programs, but in addition to that, actually expanding into other payload modalities, again, which is illustrative of the Merck deal, which is moving into cytotoxic conjugates. And we'll touch on that in a subsequent slide, but we've seen a significant improvement in expansion across PDC efforts at the company. And of course, just continued discovery and work on targeting, on building out additional targeting peptides for a variety of exciting cancer targets that we can then further expand both PDC programs and also the MPC area that we'll also touch on in a future slide here. So going forward with a future strategic focus here in 2023 and onward, of course, is to continue to proceed. We're in discussions with a number of companies interested in additional PDC deals, either licensing existing assets that we have in-house and have been working on, and or partnering on new programs. In addition to that, across the PDCs is both in RI PDCs, oligo PDCs, and also cytotoxic PDCs. In addition to that is other potential payload modalities, which we'll touch on. The goal is to continue to maximize, or going forward, maximize the synergies and leverage the capabilities of PDRadiopharma to drive and accelerate our own RI PDC programs, both moving these toward the clinic and also moving their valuations up significantly. And then there's a focus in 2023 to develop new MPC assets, expanding the candidate peptides we have for use in bi-specific and tri-specific MPCs, with a specific focus on T cell and NK cell engager molecules, which there is extremely promising data for in the immune cell recruiting of these molecules toward the treatment of cancer, and that we believe has, as we move these assets forward, have the potential to do additional deals in 2023 and onward forward. So the next slide, on slide 22, is in part trying to understand the concept or explain the concept between our PDCs, in which we can use a carrier peptide that targets any specific cancer for a variety of payload modalities. So, of course, in the upper left is the radionuclide conjugates, as we've discussed, that are in partnership with Novartis, Bayer, Bristol Myers, and Reid, in which we're conjugating a therapeutic and or a diagnostic radionuclide agent for various treatments. In addition to that, on the right side, as we've previously mentioned, is the oligo that we have in payloads, deals with both Takeda and Alnylam. going forward. There is considerable interest. Of course, we're attracting interest in using these peptides, the peptides that we've generated internally, from additional companies who want to conjugate various oligo payloads to them. On the left now, with Merck, the announcement of the Merck deal, we've expanded into cytotoxic payloads, utilizing the carrier peptides that we've discovered and developed to then conjugate to Merck cytotoxic payloads, which we believe has significant potential to advance a number of programs into the clinic here. And then on the lower right side is additional aspects of using our targeting peptides to conjugate to LNPs, or lipid nanoparticles, and or antibodies or other molecules for, again, the targeted delivery of these LNP containing payloads and or the add-on function associated with antibodies. And there's other projects that are being worked on under the relationships with both Shionogi and Lilly, to which we haven't discussed the payload classes of those specific relationships, at least at this stage, but we likely will be able to going forward in the future here. So very excited about the progress overall across the PDC programs and the ability to continue to expand the number of relationships and value of the programs that we actually have ongoing. In addition to the PDC area, so this is a very nice slide to kind of highlight the various PDC aspects. In addition to that is what we've defined now as MPCs, or multifunctional peptide conjugates, in part where you link two peptides, two or three peptides or more together to make bifunctional or trifunctional molecules. This is an extremely powerful and modular type of compounds that can be made here, that we can do, have a lot of different and exciting MOAs are possible, and a number of configurations possible. And this is a very exciting growth area with a lot of strong data coming out from other type of say, bifunctional molecules and trifunctional molecules from other companies that are not using peptides to try to go after this aspect. What is a highlight, at least one highlight on the far right, as an example of an MPC approach is, again, as I mentioned, an area of focus for us in 2023 here is the development of T and NK cell engaging molecules, in which we would connect a peptide that binds to a receptor expressed on a cancer cell, to which, as everyone knows, we have a growing number of these cancer targeting peptides that are originating from our PDC programs that can then be carried forward and combined into these MPC products. And combining these with a T cell binder or an NK cell binder to, in effect, recruit these cells to the cancer cell to induce cell death. This concept is not new. It has been being worked on with bifunctional antibodies and other types of modalities that I think have led to certain amounts of clinical validation for this concept. And it is an exciting future area. And we believe that actually going after this with peptide conjugates, or these multifunctional peptide conjugates, is a better, potentially better way of going after this type of mechanism with certain advantages over the other modalities that are currently being developed. And so the goal is to continue to work on developing a number of exciting assets internally in 2023 with a view toward potentially 2023 and 2024 onward, the ability to start to partner out some of these assets for hopefully what we expect to be a significant financial return. So in 2024, from the KDR radiopharma business in 2022, the company achieved a profitable year in its first year, putting an end to years of loss-making operations through a number of cost reductions and expansion of existing products. The key short-term two key strategic positioning is the two major areas of PET diagnostics in the field of Alzheimer's, as I mentioned. We already have amyloid, the Amavid product is already approved in Japan, with the expectation that we'll get the MCI market expansion here potentially in 2023. And then we are in development, of course, with the deal announced in December with Lilly to develop in Japan the Tauvid diagnostic agent. And the 1-2 punch of these two products is very significant as far as the tau diagnostic agent. Tauvid is the only diagnostic agent for tau globally. And so this gives us a very strong product portfolio for this key market area, which we think is going to drive growth here in 2023 onward. In addition to that, a big item was gaining the full commercial rights, of course, back to our radiopharmaceutical, our RI-PDC programs. The first of this agreement was Reid Bio, and we intend going forward for any of the RI-PDC programs that we out-license to any companies for ex-Japan rights to retain Japan rights to those programs so that we can actually fully drive and maximize their growth here in Japan. So on the right side of this slide, of course, is our focus strategy is to continue to maximize the value of the existing products that we have within the PDR radiopharma business, in addition to enhancing the diagnostic support software that accompanies the use of many of these products and agents. We believe in the expansion of the brain imaging. Again, this is in part going to be driven by the approval of the Alzheimer's therapeutics here in Japan, which we are hoping for here in 2023. And if so, will considerably lead to the expansion in increased sales of both of these two agents once the Tauvid agent is, of course, on the market. And then the third is to continue to develop new radiopharmaceutical RI-PDCs. Largely, our focus is, of course, is oncology for these uses to drive both mid and long-term growth of both the PDR radiopharma business and, of course, PeptiDream also. We also expect to increase production capacity to meet anticipated future demands and also invest in certain next-generation radionuclides, for example, actinium-225, which are going to be important materials for PDR radiopharma to have to continue to grow the radiopharmaceutical business going forward. So on slide 25 is just in part the strategic direction of the PDR radiopharma business with an aim toward 2030, 2032. As I mentioned, is continue to work on the existing products that they have and expansions of the business, certain upgrades to facilities, improve cost competitiveness, and then, of course, many of the growth drivers listed on the right side of the slide. In essence, the strategic direction is, of course, is to change the competitive landscape with new products in Japan from a business that in the past largely competed for market share among similar diagnostic agents to actually introducing new therapeutic and new diagnostic products with high patient impact and high patient value that can increase and drive sales and growth of the PDR radiopharma business. Also, to build a sustainable model for the continued pipeline expansion of this business by leveraging the global network of PeptiDream's partners and also the companies that PDR radiopharma currently already works with. In addition to that, of course, we have to continuously upgrade the infrastructure and supply chain to make that a core strength of the PDR radiopharma business here in Japan. With the overall goal, of course, is to be the #1 radiopharmaceutical company in Japan and driving the radiopharmaceutical market here. To that end, in part on slide 26, is expanding the pipeline of the PDR radiopharma business. This slide is meant to just illustrate some of the ways in which this we believe this will occur. As everyone knows, currently PeptiDream is already discovering and optimizing a number of RI-PDCs, both in partnerships with Novartis and Reid Bio, but also internally, to which those products, if they're developed by a partner outside of Japan, can actually be brought into the Japan market by accessing and utilizing or bridging the clinical data that is used from the overseas trials to actually speed their development here in Japan, which is a significant cost saver and also a significant accelerator in regards to the PDR radiopharma business that will allow us to drive and speed the development and approval of those products in Japan, which will contribute to both companies. In addition to that, of course, we're looking to, like PDR radiopharma, utilizing PeptiDream's business development and network of partners, is looking to in-license a number of exciting products that are being developed outside Japan at current and introduce those into the Japan market. As PDR Radiopharma is one of the only two players here in the radiopharma market in Japan, this natural duopoly is something that we intend to capitalize on. And so there's been a very large increase in the number of radiopharmaceutical companies, both in Europe and in the US. And there's a number of exciting products that are actually moving into the clinic, both on the diagnostic and therapeutic side, to which those companies will be looking to access the Japan market, to which we think will be the partner of choice. So we're very excited about the number of ways in which we can drive business, the RI radiopharmaceutical business, utilizing PDR Radiopharma going forward. And so with that, on slide 27 here is looking at PDR Radiopharma business from a mid to long-term perspective. In year one, of course, this is just post-acquisition here in 2022, was seeing the company go from a company operating in the red in 2022 to being marginally profitable here in 2022. We expect the company to maintain profitability going forward. We expect the next, say, years 2 to 5 of this business, so the next couple of years, to see more of what we're calling an investment phase of where we will see growth in revenue through the expansion of some of the exciting new PET products that we now have. And there's the potential for us to bring in other products into Japan. But we intend to reinvest the profits that are obtained from this pipeline and from the company back into infrastructure and hiring the best talent for that company. So we expect it to, of course, have an operating profit every year going forward, but much of that profit will be reinvested into the company strategically to set the foundation for future growth. And we expecting really this harvest phase from year 6 to 10 of where we're now seeing accelerated revenue growth coming from the products that arose from the PeptiDream side of the equation, from PeptiDream, for example, those products that we've developed with Reid Pharma, where we bring those back into the Japan, introduce those into the Japan market, and or from other collaboration partners, or our in-house RIPDC programs as they advance into the Japan market, and of course other products that we may license and or under service agreement develop from outside partners, introduced into the Japan market, seeing these products actually reach approval and seeing those products starting to contribute to significant revenue growth in this later harvest phase. And with that harvest phase, actually starting to see overall operating profit of the company significantly increase. So with this mid to long-term growth strategy, we think the company now very much has a set foundation and a very strong operating plan here to deliver both short-term revenue growth, but then strong long-term revenue growth with long-term profit growth happening downstream. So extremely excited about what's happening with PDR Radiopharma and looking forward to this going forward. In regards to the mid-term to long-term strategy of the overall group, again, as we've mentioned previously, the aim of the PDR Radiopharma business is to generate sales of 100 billion yen by roughly in the 2030, so in the 7 to 10 year horizon is the goal. We had shown again this slide earlier in 2022, and we've seen now, or expecting now, we've already seen significant growth from our 2021 revenue of 9.3 billion yen to the almost 27 billion yen we had in 2022. And so we expect over the next 1 to 2 years, the near term is to roughly have 30 billion yen per year in revenue, with then this accelerating into the roughly 50 billion yen in revenue in 3 to 6 years, and then within a 7 to 10 year horizon, reaching our initial goal of 100 billion yen in revenue, and then growing from there, hopefully significantly onward. And so, again, this is meant to highlight in part the contribution from the two respective entities, from PDR Radiopharma and PD, pharma in regards to the contribution toward those overall goals as we go forward. So what is happening to actually see these things is really accelerating growth through revenue contributions from the advancing pipeline. So really out-licensing of clinical candidates that have been discovered in-house is a key part of this strategy for us. To see the receive clinical and approval milestones, of course, from advancing programs is going to be a key driver toward this goal. And then, of course, receiving sales royalties from launch products will be a key contributor in addition to the PDR-radiopharma business as an overall contributor. So very excited about how the future 5 to 10 years of this business is shaping up. In regards more specifically to, on slide 29, in regards more specifically to our projections for the 2023 fiscal year, as is shown here, on the left, it was revenue for 2021 and then 2022, of course, in which we consolidated 9 months of revenue from the PDR-radiopharma business. In 2023, we'll now consolidate 12 months from the PDR-radiopharma business. Our estimate for 2023 revenue is 30 billion yen. For core operating profit, in 2022, we estimated 6.6 billion yen in core operating profit. For 2023, we are estimating 6.7 billion yen in core operating profit. And for net income in 2022, of course, we announced 4.2 billion yen in net income for 2022, and we are announcing 2.7 billion yen for net income in 2023. In regards to this, of course, is in part is the MCI expansion payment that is being made for the Ambiven product post PDR-radiopharma acquisition. So if you subtract that payment, it's closer to 44.7 billion yen. But that payment, of course, is having an impact on the overall net profit or net income for the 2023 fiscal year. I just want to note that, again, our estimates are in line with past fiscal years. So our estimates are, again, higher than they were that we made for 2022. As is shown with the orange arrows, we went well past our estimates in 2022. And so I think this is indicative of the conservative nature of our projections that we continue to make. As everyone is very much aware, there are certain aspects to the business, especially as PeptiDream is a biotech company, that make it difficult to determine exactly what revenue will look like or exactly what profits will look like in any one year. Revenue is a little bit easier to project, in part because the PDR-radiopharma business, of course, has relatively stable quarter-to-quarter revenue that allows us for more solid projections. But as PeptiDream is the larger contributor to operating profit and net income, this makes it still difficult for us to exactly determine what operating profit income will look like in any calendar year. And therefore, this is the basis for which our conservative estimates are made. And so lastly, in slide 30 is just on the left side is part of our Q1, Q2 IR schedule. I think this is supposed to be for 2023. Yeah. For fiscal year 2023, we have a number of events that we will be participating in, and hopefully we'll get the chance to speak and discuss with many of those listening on the call today as we continue to drive growth in the business and get the story out. On March 29th, we'll have our annual shareholders meeting, and on May 11th, we'll have our Q1 fiscal 2023 financial results disclosures. For future catalysts, of course, for the company is progress on the ongoing clinical trials, the BMS partnered PD-L1 inhibitor program, looking forward to progress on that. CD38 also looking forward to making announcements in regards to some of the results as they roll out. And then a development discovery plan determining next steps around the PA001 product. Also, AZP3813, as I mentioned, moving into the clinic here in 2023. a decision and or announcements on what we plan to do with the myostatin inhibitor program as far as the selection of development candidate, and then the various considerations that we are at current discussing. Also, RI-PDC programs, advancing the first development candidate from last year toward the clinic, potentially into human imaging studies, and then also driving a second program toward development candidate is something we hope to announce in the near future. And then, of course, advancements with the Novartis RI-PDC program, hopefully for the selection of a development candidate here in 2023. And then our relationship with Takeda to announce a development candidate from that partnership for an oligo-PDC program. While we continue to see exciting progress across all of the various collaborations that we have currently ongoing, we also expect to see here in 2023 expansion of PDC programs further and potential deals, as we are in discussion with a number of companies interested in using certain peptides that we already have for PDC applications. And we also have a number of companies that are actually interested in new targets for potential use in PDC type programs. We also have continued interest, of course, in companies who would like to in-license the PDPS technology, which we continue to have ongoing discussions with. And then around MPC programs is both the asset creation and the potential for new deals, whether that is in 2023 or into 2024, but hopefully for us to make some disclosures in regards to the advancement of those programs. And then lastly, of course, there's a number of others for us, but I think one of the short-term others is in regard to the Modulus kit program, which we're looking forward to announce something here in 2023 in regards to that, how we're partnering of that program.